CTP was a cornerstone of my developing my understanding and definition of success. When I came to CTP, of course, like most students who come to CTP, my life was at an inflection point. I was transitioning. I was, coming out of a rough time, and certainly needed help and skills to get kind of, I would say, back into being a responsible, productive member of society, and if I was ever there before. But so CTP, there was some wonderful experiences I had. There was the framework of a technical education, but with the process of even interviewing, I saw inspiring folks. David Landis, for one, interviewed me, I think, the first time I was there, and just the challenges that he was able to overcome, and other folks in the class. And so I got a real sense of this was a great opportunity, and if these other folks who are inspiring me can do it, maybe I can. And then while I was there, I had this idea of success as I was going to get a good job. The wealthiest men in the world write software. I mean, that was a great industry to go into. And the fact is, what's become clear to me after nearly 30 years in the field is that it's not as much about the money or the prestige. It's about developing to become a successful human being. And a large component of that is how you benefit the community and society, and how you can be of benefit to others around you. That's the gift that CTP had given me, is to start me in my career. And as soon as I could help in some small way, I felt that was the least I can do, is to give back. And it's interesting. I remember when I went back and was pursuing a master's degree after I kind of got into my field and into career, and I had a professor who talked about, who gave us a reading. It was by a professor at Harvard Business School, and he had his students read the obituaries section of the newspaper and asked them, how do you want to be remembered? And what stood out most, and what was highlighted in this article, was the folks who had given back, who had helped others. It wasn't so much about what they could amass and acquire and consume or hoard, or, it was really about what they did for society. That seemed, at least it struck me, as the most powerful thing we could do. So there's a quote that I've heard from the Dalai Lama, that the highest aspiration of the human heart is to give back to another human being. So, and I don't want to sound kind of smug about it. It's easy for me to talk about giving back after I've had some time in a career and have been able to have some success, in both in work and career and materially. But I think we can start giving back right away. Other students did that for me in my early days in programming class 37 at CTP. There were times when I wanted to throw in the towel and and give up. And I got the encouragement of the other students around me, not to mention the staff and the instructors. And it's a fairly small class, class setting at the time. I think we started with maybe a dozen students. And so people knew when I was struggling, or I knew when they were struggling, and we were able to, reach out and kind of hold each other up. And then I learned a lot about myself as well, as what I was capable of doing that I had no idea. And there's just so many aspects that CTP gave me this start, and that I've been able to build upon for a successful life.
Okay. That's great.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Love
okay.
it.
Did I say too much?
It's too much for the specific purpose of the recording,
Right.
but you know, in these conversations I'm having with people when I'm creating these videos, it's just so interesting because I've been searching this past year for how as an organization we can define success, because you know the outside world wants to be able to hear in an understandable way, digestible way, like, is your organization successful? How successful is it? You know, and not just purely metrics, but like you know, a little bit richer than just the numbers. And so something that you said was interesting. Maybe I'd be interested if you agree that
Sure.
one of the things we have identified as a definition of success for some of the individuals we work with is gaining the foothold or the confidence or the whatever it was that they needed that they didn't have before to go to advanced training, to go to college, or to obtain some, you know, higher level technical certification. It sounds, would you say that was true for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. CTP gave me the framework to build. And, you know, so interesting from, you know, there was also the involvement of business and there was a business advisory council or the, you know, the interview sessions or the, you know, the walkthroughs and program reviews, all of that were huge in building my confidence and esteem, and that I realized that, you know, I could do this. And then after an internship and going into the field and just getting, you know, companies want this, you know, whether you're a computer science major who's graduating with a degree or you're coming out of CTP as an intern, they're going to make an investment in you to train you to start your career, you know, for the specific, you know, types of work you're going to be in. And I got that foot in the door, and I realized that I could pursue. I trained as much as I possibly could, learning on the job. But then I realized, you know, I can pursue and finish the degree, or even get a, you know, go to graduate school and finish that master's degree that I had dreamed about, but I never really thought, or I doubted that it would be attainable. And I drew from my experience at CTP. You know, I'm like, if I can get through programming class 37, I can certainly, you know, have a shot at doing this. And so, yeah, it was the bedrock for my career and my success. Yeah.
We had another participant who went through our technical training and did, you know, pretty well. And we felt pretty confident that we were going to help this person find a job. But they really weren't interested in the job search with us. They started the process and they just didn't commit to it. And then they disappeared. We contacted the counselor, and the counselor was like, well, yeah, they don't want a job search with you. They're going to go back to college and finish getting their degree. And we're like, I'm overstating it, but I was like, damn it, you know, we failed. Right? We failed. We were so close. We could have gotten this person a job. And the counselor is like, no, 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 no. You know, that's an incredible change for this person, that they gained the confidence to, you know, feel confident that they could do that, and to make that decision on their own to go back to college is huge for them. That's a success.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, okay, right. You know, we really need to be thinking about this in terms of the individual. Was it a success for the individual? Not was it a success for the organization?
Exactly. And, you know, CTP basically gave me the start for my career. And it was interesting because paradoxically, there were a number of folks who had bachelor's or more advanced degrees in my class who were coming back to CTP to get the skills to go into jobs. And so, and when I was in the job, I mean, I had these dreams about education early on, but, you know, after high school, I took a series of turns that led me to the doors of CTP and, you know, dealt with some issues that yeah, enabled me to get into the program. so I had this dream about completing, a degree. And so, CTP was, I drew from my experience there as, realizing if I could do that, and I can certainly tackle this other, completing a degree and completing a master's while working full time and doing very well. But it's interesting that, my career was, I got the technical skills, I got everything I needed from CTP to go into the job. Other people, like you mentioned, that's a stepping stone to higher education. And that's absolutely a success. There's nothing wrong with that. So
we're also, we've got some other cases, not a lot, but some where the person through their experience at CTP recognizes that they're not ready for employment and that there are some other things going on in their lives that they need to resolve before they will be ready. And in a sense, that's also a success. It's a different kind of success. But if someone is facing, a developing health crisis, or there's something about their health which is going to prevent them from being successful, it's better for them to take a break from this particular track and to focus their efforts on getting that in place, because that's not just about finding future employment. That's about being, well and functioning as a human being and day-to-day life. And so, we have about 10% of our folks, of course, people with disabilities disproportionately have more medical and mental health problems than the non-disabled population. So it's not too surprising that we have that segment as well. And we're just kind of contending with that in terms of, the overall picture of, well, what is it that CTP does to help people?
yeah, and I could see that. And drawing back from my experience at CTP originally when I was a student, there was a significant part of the class that didn't end up going into, or didn't end up staying in a field and working, after a couple of years, or maybe hadn't started at all. And I was thinking it wasn't 50%, it might have been 30% of the class never did pursue. They found out about them, and that's one of the things I said a bit earlier, is that I found out a lot about myself, who I am, what my capability, I started to get a handle on my capabilities and my potential. Or, I think a lot of us get told we have a lot of potential or young, and briefly, at least in my case, I didn't utilize it to the best of my ability. But learn my capabilities and limitations, and got to stretch and do more. And some of us learned that we have some limitations as far as CTP is for the disabled population, and what they can and what they can't do, at least at this point in their lives. And that is a success as well, in my opinion. We learn about ourselves. We become the people we're meant to be, basically, in that process.
Yeah. So you said when we talk about success, is that success as a human being rather than success as a career, or success making money, success as do you feel like, and you also referenced some examples like David Landis and other participants in the program, do you feel like those examples of people that you met at CTP were also influenced your feeling about what makes success for you in the future?
Absolutely, 100%. And I hold up many examples in my life, and whether it was Joe Quinn, who just he was a wonderful teacher, a great knowledge of programming, also an interpreter, and he had many facets to his life. And when I saw him, and a father, and I really saw a successful human being, that he went above and beyond to help us in a lot of ways. His red correction pen notwithstanding. Sometimes help can be like a kick in the rear end. But anyway, yeah, there was just great examples of people who are just really committed to helping. I mean, you know, Joni Brevis, the director at the time, you know, she really devoted her life to CTP. I mean, and folks like Alex, I hold up now. You know, it's a wonderful service that we're doing society, and and I think there's so much emphasis put on image and, you know, money, property, and prestige. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that in the right balances. But I think we can get, or at least my view could be a little skewed at times. And I've learned over time, and maybe it's, you know, emotional, if not spiritual maturity, what it means to be successful for me. And so, you know, I keep saying, CTP was just a huge part of that. So to be involved is, to me, that's a gift. And whatever I can do is the least I can do to try and help give back.